What made you want to decide to run for Woodbury County Attorney?
There's been a lot of things.
Yes, sir.
I'm a criminal defense attorney. I'm a public defender, and I see a lot of the things, the policies, the decisions, and how they affect my clients.
Yes, sir.
And it just the number of things that I see that I'm like, hey, this isn't okay.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that you see most often is how it's set up that if you don't have money, you're going to plead guilty.
Yeah.
Like it's just set up that way. If you go into jail, you're going to have a bond that's going to be, if you don't have 100, 200, 300 bucks lying around, you're not going to be able to bond out. In order to go to trial, you have a right to be tried within 90 days. What can happen during those 90 days when you're not home? Lose your kids, lose your house, lose your benefits.
Yeah, the jobs.
Everything. Jobs.
Whole 9 yards.
Yeah. I mean, so it's set up for you to, if you don't have the money, you're going to plead guilty.
Yes, sir.
And man, it kills you because especially when on those cases where you're like, hey, you shouldn't plead to this. And they're like, yeah, I need this more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So eventually I got fed up with it. It only comes around every 4 years. In 2022, 2023, when James was running against PJ, I was interested. I was watching that. 2026 comes around and no one else is interested in running.
Mm-hmm. Someone
has to point out the problems that are out there. And so I decided to do so.
Absolutely. You kind of a little nervous for that? You were kind of stepping into a different role?
My gosh, yes. Holy cow. Because I'm a private person, right? Like I deleted my Facebook in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. Okay. I haven't been on social media for X number of years. And it was great because I had this anonymity. Even though I'm in Sioux City, which Sioux City is a much smaller town than where I'm from. I'm from Fresno, which is roughly 1 million people in the area. I was in Des Moines when I deleted my Facebook, and then you come to Sioux City, it's so small, and I'm just this person. I can just walk into some place, and to know that I have to stand up, I have to talk at these meetings. I'm trying to get this microphone perfect.
Just bring it a little bit closer to you.
I think this is it.
Yeah, it should be good. Okay.
I think I'm okay. But yeah, it's scary sticking your head out like that.
Yeah.
When I was in Iraq, I was a Mark 19 gunner. I'm 6'3", and standing out of the top of the Humvee, I'm an easy shot if we're stopped. So I'm doing it again. I'm sticking my head out again. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, is it worth it? Yeah.
Absolutely. My brother's a Marine.
Oh, where at?
Well, he's a former Marine.
Okay.
He's done. He lives in Philly now. But I sent him the link that Maddie sent me, and he was reading it. He wanted me to call you a boot. He said you would get a laugh out of that. He's like, I was like, what does that mean? He's like, when you say it, he'll understand it. You won't understand it. And I was like, okay.
I guess it depends on how he's using it.
Yeah.
Because I only did one tour. How many did he do?
I think just one, too.
Just one? Okay. Then it's just something you just call somebody.
Okay.
Yeah. Just to be.
I was Googling. I was like, is this a real thing?
Oh yeah. We call each other names all the time. I mean, that's the worst one, I think, for Marines to Air Force. I don't know if you've heard this one, calling them the Chair Force.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, that one, right? I mean, it's mean, but it's also, it's kind of expected. We're going to be mean to each other. And then, at the same time, if I need something, yeah, he's got my back, vice
Absolutely.
versa.
What's one problem in the justice system motivated you the most to step up?
Like I said, it's how it's set up to make poor people plead.
Yeah.
They charge way more crimes than they could ever go to trial on, period. Like, I think, in Woodbury County, I couldn't even give you a good number, but I currently have a running caseload of about 130 clients.
Okay.
And if all of those clients went to trial, there are 2 criminal trial days a month, roughly.
Yes, sir.
So I would be able to get through 26 of them in a year.
Mm-hmm.
That's nowhere near as many as, and I would, don't forget this, the number would be backfilled. People would be coming in behind. It's set up to, to have everybody plead. And the laws are written to have everybody plead. I mean, if you look at the OWI statute, it's 321J well, it's just 321J is the section.
Mm-hmm.
They have written down everything. I mean, everything from you cannot use the standard of the error rate for a data master. You cannot use that when getting a deferred judgment. The fines, using implied consent. I mean, there's just so many things. It has been written to close every loophole you can think of so that your options are go to trial or plead.
Mm-hmm.
And going to trial takes 90 days, costs how much money, how much time, how much work are you going to miss? I mean, I don't know how many days of work do you think you could miss without, just out of the blue, you have to have 3 days off in 3 months.
Yeah.
And you have to, otherwise you go to jail.
Mm-hmm.
And that's if you win. If you lose, I mean, how much time are you looking at in jail?
Yeah.
And it's just, it kills me. It kills me to see these people hurting. And so, because that's the other thing is I actually talk to criminal defendants. Not everybody does. The police get there, they're in a bad spot.
Mm-hmm.
And, depending on the defendant, they can be surly is a good word for it. They go to jail. The jail is just trying to keep them alive, get them to their next, whatever they've got going on.
Yep.
The court is just trying to get them through. Hey, let's get this done. If we're going to trial, let's go to trial. If we're not, we're not. Go forward. Prosecutor, honestly, I don't even know if prosecutors even know what they look like half the time, and maybe even a quarter of the time.
Yeah.
Because you don't see their pictures in this file. So yeah, I mean, there's such it's treating people like cattle so much, and it just really it sucks to watch.
Yeah, so. I get what you mean. It's with everything what you're talking about now. What's kind of like been like your motivator to kind of like, okay, I need to do this.
So we do need to. I should probably point out I need to have a rule with you, which is anytime I say something about this one client,
Mm-hmm.
we gotta cut that out.
Mm-hmm.
Only because I made it a rule myself that I cannot talk about individual clients.
For sure.
Because somebody recognizes them, somebody recognizes something I say. This has never happened, but let's say somebody tries to hold up a liquor store with a blow dryer, right?
Mm-hmm.
It has never happened. But if I said that, you would be able to Google and find out exactly who that person is. Look, you can get all kinds of information online. Yeah. So I cannot talk about individual clients. That said, individual clients really helped my decision. 2 in particular that I saw what happened to them and I just couldn't stand it. So
yeah,
I decided to run. I decided I was going to really go in that direction about 2-3 years ago. And then, earlier this year, I had a decision made for me when the way things worked out. And so here we are.
Absolutely. One thing, I think it's a huge thing also for men. One thing is that you're talking about is mental health. One of the focuses is mental health in the justice system. Why is that so important to you?
Well, for one, I have mental health issues. I've had severe depression since I was 16. You don't talk about it though. You don't, it could be in a wuss, that kind of thing. And
life of my grandpa.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, hush up wuss. And I'm using,
that's literally,
and I'm trying
the easy term.
I'm trying to use, happy words, not my Marine words. So 20, I'm 25 years old and my depression is just out of control. And I had no idea, like, what? That's depression? I thought everybody just feels that way,
Yeah.
16, I realized, I don't mind if I get hit by a bus today. Like, that's not normal.
Yeah, that's not a normal thought.
But also, if you don't talk to anybody about it, you don't find this out. Okay. Mm-hmm. So knowing what it's like, knowing those mental health issues, and mine probably low level by comparison to some of my people.
Absolutely.
That's for me is huge. That's there are mental health issues. There is a mental health crisis. The setup of the system for mental health in Iowa is abysmal, is a nice word for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's too much. So when you've got these clients who are going through these mental health issues and nobody's really looking into it and nobody's really saying, hey, maybe there's more to that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because that's the thing, is that's why they're doing this. You know, in my in this video we'll talk about eventually, you use drugs to feel better, and nobody really talks about, well, why do you need to feel better? You know, what happened? And it's it's the mental health, it's the trauma, it's the PTSD, it's the
Absolutely.
The depression. Yeah. So that's big for me. That's one of my big thing is.
I do like that a lot. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. And, but yeah, depression is huge. And if we're not talking about it, if nobody's actually,
How can we fix it?
well, yeah, exactly. And also just people admitting that they have it. I mean, I had to, for lack of a better term, come out to my dad when I was 28, 30 years old. I was like, yeah, Dad, I've had really bad depression. And you could see it on his face. He was just like, oh man. And then 10 years down the road, I'm like, maybe you did too. Maybe maybe it's hereditary. Maybe our family has it, in a few different places, but we're not talking about it.
Yep.
And so, so mental health, both being, putting it out there, putting it up front, but also recognizing that the cause is the mental health. The symptom, what it does is turns into crimes, turns into violence.
The random thoughts they start. Trust me, it just.
Yeah.
I think every man has gone through, or just even females too, have gone through mental health crisis, and they're just too scared to talk about it. And it's sad to see it, because when you do love someone on top of it, and you see what's going on through their brain, you see, and so it's like, I want to be there for you, but I need you to let me in so I can also help you.
Well, but also, like, are you even the best person to talk to them about it? Because, you can't say that you know what they're doing or what they're going through. And I can't do that for most of my clients. I mean, some of my clients, their backgrounds, just would make you cry.
Yeah.
And well, here, I'll get you out of jail. That's about all I can do, And so that's why I want to hit the source of these problems, the mental health. And it's one of the sources. There's actually a few, but one of the sources is hitting this mental health, making sure we take care of that, and then going forward with, okay, now what was the crime? Was it possession of marijuana? Oh, you're smoking weed because you're sad all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Or, why are you doing meth? You're doing meth because of the things that happened to you when you were 12 years old. Oh, okay. And so let's take care of those mental health things. And then maybe they don't want to do meth as much. Maybe there's not as much marijuana out there. And, and granted, marijuana, your choice, your beliefs on it one way or the other, at the very least doing it legally, so that, hey, now we've got fewer crimes. Now we've got fewer times where police are being called. We've got fewer times where police are being put in dangerous situations. We've got fewer times the public is being put in dangerous situations. It just makes a safer community.
Absolutely. If elected, what would be the first change you would try to get done?
So I think one of your next questions is about things that people don't realize is part of the county attorney's world.
Yes, sir.
And so it's going to kind of go into both of those. The county attorney is I read a book one time where this guy talked about how there's three people who are important in a criminal case, basically can turn the entire thing off. Okay. There's the officer who decides whether or not to charge you.
Yep.
There's the county attorney who decides whether or not to charge you. And then there's the judge who decides whether or not to go forward with a case. So those three are huge, are so important. And, the county attorney or the assistant county attorney is number 2 in that list. And so they have a lot of sway about what happens. So there are different policies that the Woodbury County Attorney's Office currently has in place, that their standards, their standard offer, right? Some of them are good, some of them are not. I'm not going to go too deep into all of them because, one, they don't actually tell us what they are. We just kind of learn them through seeing the same offer over and over again. Possession of meth, you're going to do this many days in jail.
Yeah.
Fine as this, whatever. But one of the first ones I want to do is I want to essentially start working toward, which it's not going to happen immediately, but triple the size of mental health court. We have a mental health court. And one of the ways it works is the county attorney's office is actually saying, hey, yeah, let's do this. You know, if you have mental health issues, we will get you the help and then we'll deal with the case later on. And I think that we can triple the size of it, okay, between adding more people, right? I mean, taking some risks. I understand that, you know, risks are dangerous, can be dangerous, but, you know, if the person has a violent history or something like that, okay, I would say that person needs the mental health help the most.
Absolutely.
And especially if the rest of the criteria are met, you know, this person like already did 2 weeks in jail because they couldn't bond themselves out. Well, if your offer was going to be 2 weeks anyway, okay, let's get them into mental health court then. They've already served the amount of time.
Yeah.
Let's try and get them through this program. And so that's my goal. My goal is to triple the size, but it's not going to be easy. You know, we have it's through Siouxland Mental Health and funding for them. There's a big shakeup about like areas that they're allowed to help recently. So, and also you can commit a crime in Sioux City and Woodbury County and not be from here. So if you're from South Sioux, you can commit the crime in Woodbury County, but then you're not eligible for Project Compass because you're not a resident of Woodbury County. So, you know, things like that I want to work on. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take convincing some people, the budgeting, honestly, getting people's time, because it takes, you know, we usually spend a few hours each, you know, one Thursday a month going over these cases.
Yep.
We need to have a judge ready to be able to do that. We need to have mental health workers able to put in the legwork before then. And that's the goal. The goal is to basically make it so our capacity is 3 times the size so we can get 3 times as many people through that program and potentially keep them from coming back.
Absolutely. And, you know, with everything that you just said, that could also change so much people's lives and also in a snap of a finger.
It's not a snap of
well,
a
it's a snap of a
finger.
finger, but the longevity of the whole thing. But it's just like from the start of like where they were to where they could be could save so much more lives, you know?
That's I have had, I think I probably have the most number of clients in mental health court.
Okay.
If I even get a whiff of mental health issue, I'll throw them in there. You know, the way I ask the question is, you know, like sometimes I'll ask them, well, have you ever been diagnosed with a mental health issue? No. And later on I'll be like, okay, you said you hadn't been diagnosed with any mental health issues. Is it because you haven't been diagnosed or because you don't have any?
Okay.
And you'll see them be like, oh, and, you know, and maybe get them down that road of, hey, you're in this position, something brought you here. Maybe we can do something. And that's what I want to do. That's one of the first things. There's a few other goals, but yeah, I think that's going to be the number one thing that I'm working on from day one.
Yeah. I'd say even with doing that, you know, you could be saving someone's son, someone's dad, someone's daughter, you know? Yeah, and so I think that's like once people start seeing that more and start obviously getting more out there, you know, they might be on more board. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And there's things that are being left on the table. There are ways to impact someone's behavior that aren't necessarily put them in jail, fine them, you know, give them probation, you know, and that's so many, you know, probably 95% of our, or prison, 95% of sentences are one of those 5 things. You know, they include something of that, you know. Why not have, you know, incorporate something like, you know, some kind of a class for the family, you know, especially if there's a domestic violence involved. Not saying it's something I'm going to do immediately. I've actually been speaking. I had what I thought was a brilliant idea. Spoke with a woman at Safe Place about it. She was like, no, that's not a good idea. Oh, shoot. Okay. You know, because I have these ideas, but I'm not the expert. What I want to do is I want to talk to these experts, and then we can go forward with that. We can use this information and be like, hey,
build a team together and then.
Yeah. Well, or not even a team, just, you know, hey, let's try this program and then let's talk to the right people, and the right people say yes or no and go from there, but try something different, you know, because if we're treating people like cattle. We're just trying to get them through the system. Where, you know, I mean, some days it almost feels like, you know, you get a ticket, you know, oh, what number am I? Oh, I'm number 27. Like, you know, that's sometimes what it feels like going to court. That's what, if you get rid of that and instead, you know, your punishment is shoveling out horse stalls or, you know, shoveling just crap for hours on end, maybe that'll be a better thing than any amount of jail.
Yeah.
Picking up litter on the side of the road, you know, walking up and down Pierce Street with an orange vest on, that actually might work better for you than, you know, probation.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we try these different things, maybe they don't work every time. But what if they work perfectly and we just haven't tried it?
Mm-hmm.
And that's my thing is I haven't seen the willing to step outside the box, the willing to think outside the box out of. Why
are people worried about change? Why aren't they why won't they go out there like to try to make the change?
Yeah.
Or just try it.
Well, so for one, when you're talking about sentencing, when you're talking about disposition is what the fancy legal term, there's a certain amount of ownership to it, right?
Yes,
this is your case. This is how you felt it should be punished. And because of you, it was punished in this way.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'm a part of that. The prosecutor's a part of that. The judge is a part of that. Well, there's also a certain amount of like future, you know, you're looking at the future. And if you see this, if you see that this person ends up doing this, and then you go backward and you see, oh, actually this, you know, you could have stopped it here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a good idea, maybe not. But, you know, so that's what they're doing. They're kind of being, I guess, they're preparing for this potential outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And they're afraid to make the move that might look bad because they didn't do the standard. They didn't do the harsh today. And so tomorrow this person is, you know, worse or did something different or did something horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately that has happened in the past. Somewhat, you know, I mean, shoot, what was it? Was it Ted Bundy, the guy from Wisconsin? I mean, he was pulled over by Wisconsin state troopers like multiple times and just nobody's talking to each other about how this is the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. You know, I understand it. Doesn't mean you need to stop. It just means you need to keep, you know, honestly, you need to look better. You know, Ted Bundy is a perfect example. These people missed it and he did these horrible things. What if somebody had done a double take on him? You know, looked at him twice, looked at him 3 times, really dug down deep into him instead of, you know, that's stamp him, move him along. You know, and that's not Woodbury County. That's a whole other thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, that treating these cases as individuals, I think is the right way. I think is the right direction.
Absolutely. I like that. What makes you different from other candidates in the race? James Loomis, correct?
Yeah.
I think he's running again.
Yes.
If I look, was my information is correct.
Yeah.
But I think this is you guys.
Yeah.
then, correct.
It's only the 2 of us.
Yes, sir.
That's so. James has been doing this when he was running in 2022. One of the things he talked about a lot was his experience. He had been, I think, a felony prosecutor for 17 years at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're looking at, you know, another 4 years. He's been doing it 21 years. I honestly think that cuts both ways. He has the experience. He's been doing it for 20 years. What has he done with that experience? What has he done that's different? You know, what has he tried that didn't work? I don't think anyone's ever talked about it. I've never heard it talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that he's done anything different than, you know, besides being harsher, being stricter. I know of a few policies, a few changes that I would say made the office a little more strict between 2022 and 2023 and today.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and I think that's, so he has the experience doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think
he doesn't want to take that right or.
Well, not even that. Yeah. He doesn't see that there's another option, you know, because why
more
would
potential out there.
Yeah. Yeah. There's more potential. I mean, you know, you have to change, you know, doing the same thing over and over again. What was it? I think somebody said Einstein said it, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I
mean, you can't live a life like that. You're going to pretty much keep repeating the same process. It's like going to the gym. Or, I'm going to go to the gym, and you don't go to the gym. I'm going to go to the gym the next day until you finally get like, you know what? I'm going to get up and actually go to the gym. And so you finally make that change. Like, okay, I'm going to make a change for myself. So it's kind of similar to that.
Yeah. And also, if you're not happy, because James has been doing the same thing for 22 years, what has his impact on crime actually been? I mean, I want to know mine. I want to know what my recidivism rate is. I want to know how many of my clients have gone back to do the same thing. And I know that number is nowhere near where I want it to be, but I want to know that number. I just, obviously, with all of my just buckets of spare time, I can't really do that. If I'm in a position where I have the ability to make policy decisions, hire staff who potentially would be able to look into these things so that, okay, this is the recidivism rate if we charge this way versus that way. If we do probation versus drug court, or actually probation and drug court, you do drug court on probation. But anyway, if you do mental health court versus if you just give them the lowest possible sentence. Yeah. What are the outcomes of that, and take that information and say, okay, what is making Woodbury County safer? That's what I don't think James is doing. I don't think he's looking at the outcomes and saying, okay, if I add, 1 + 1 = 2, what about 3 + 2? Am I getting, what am I getting out of that? I don't know. I mean, I'm just not seeing any kind of direction with that. So yeah, that's what makes me different, is I kind of want to use the information we already have out there. I want to go in a direction that maybe I'm not going to be the fire and brimstone, put everyone in jail. Who's that one guy out of, he was a first sergeant. He's retired. He's a legislator out of Denison. And he, I think, was the start of the 3 strikes bill. I don't know if you heard about this.
No, sir.
They're trying to start a 3 strikes bill in Iowa. So if you accrue a certain amount of points, you go to prison for 20 years. Let's talk about what some of those crimes can be. Like if it's, let's say, blanket aggravated misdemeanors, driving while license barred is an aggravated misdemeanor. You can get that from losing your license and then continuing to drive. Yeah. So you didn't get into an accident. You didn't hurt anyone. You're just trying to get to work. And
it's like you're causing I get it's a crime, but
exactly. And I'm not saying it's the reason you lost your license is probably a thing, but that's, an aggravated misdemeanor. That's the same level as, a theft. It's called habitual theft. If you steal a piece of gum, right? First day you steal a piece of gum, you get in trouble. It's a simple misdemeanor. Second time you steal a piece of gum, simple misdemeanor. Third time, it's an aggravated misdemeanor. Aggravated misdemeanors are punishable by up to 2 years in prison. So you've stolen 3 pieces of gum, and yet you're looking at 2 years in prison as a potential. I don't know. I haven't read this bill. I haven't read this legislation that they're talking about. But if there's any chance where you can go to prison for 20 years, you have to make sure that you are very specific about what can cause it. And honestly, I haven't heard anything about his law enforcement background, the guy who started it. I don't know what kind of input other people are having. You want to have that input from, the public defender's office, the attorney general's office, Department of Corrections. I think I did read in one of the articles that they needed another 400, I could be wrong about the numbers, but it was hundreds of millions of dollars to build the jail spaces, the prisons that we would need to fill. If we had this influx of people, we would need hundreds of millions of dollars just to handle all of them. Or they're going to get let go sooner. Well, that's why they're trying to put this bill out in the first place, is because they're mad that people are getting out of jail or prison too soon. Okay, well, now you're trying to make it so they stay in jail longer, but there's not really, it's a never-ending cycle.
Already the show goes on all night till the morning. We dream so long. ever wonder when they would see the sun?